All right, today you are going to be completing Academy Module 4, Why Stuff Gets Lost in the Center of Your Mind and What to Do About it. So there's 10 topics in this lesson. You have an introduction, something about short-term memory, a quick check, forgetting in STM, an activity, pulse, rehearsal in STM, a quick check, another pulse, and a practical exercise. So let's get started. Introduction. So let's say you're trying to cram for a critical fact into your head. Something like 7 times 9 equals 63. Or even more essential, like Topeka is the capital of Kansas. Yeah, kid stuff, I know. Hang with me. Why isn't it easier to get it into your brain? Why does it so often seem to get held up halfway in? Just clank around in the middle of your mind for a few seconds before tumbling back out again. Isn't there something you can do to jam that critical fact completely into your mind so it really sticks? Well, no, not like that. But once you understand how your short-term memory works, you can see how to invite it all the way in. So, short-term memory. Let's watch this video to see how our short-term memory works.
Raw signals in sensory memory that are meaningful and important, that is perceived and attended to, make their way to short-term memory for further processing. Short-term memory is at the center of the information processing system. It can get its information from sensory memory and also from long-term memory. Short-term memory holds the information you're thinking about at a given moment, the information you're paying attention to. So you can think of short-term memory as being like consciousness. Short-term memory does a few things for you. One is that it keeps some new information active just long enough for you to use it, as when you remember a phone number long enough to dial it. Short-term memory also helps you to work with information you're thinking about, like when you solve a multiplication problem in your head. For this reason, it is sometimes called working memory. A third thing it does is to help you get new information to long-term memory, like memorizing a new multiplication fact. You can't do any of these things, however, if the information in short-term memory is forgotten.
Here's a quick check. What things does short-term or working memory do for you? Does it manipulate information, such as by solving a problem in your head? Does it keep some new information active for use in the near future? Or is it used to move a new fact into long-term? Here's a video about forgetting in short-term memory.
When we talk about forgetting in short-term memory, we mean the information is lost, as in gone. There are two ways you can forget or lose information from short-term memory. First, if you don't do anything with it, the info can simply fade away and be lost in about 15 to 20 seconds. Second, the information can be pushed out by new information. Short-term memory holds only a small amount of information. It can only hold about 7 units of data at any time. If the slots for short-term memory fill up and something else happens, then you're likely to lose it. Ever wonder why a phone number has 7 digits? If it were any longer, then it would be much more difficult to remember. What can you do to avoid forgetting from short-term memory?
So you're going to see if you can try to remember this number that appears. All right, without going back, try to enter that number now. So, how did you rehearse the phone number? Did you repeat the information to yourself again and again? Did you try to look for patterns? Both? Neither? Or you're not really sure? So, here's a quick video about rehearsal in short-term memory.
If you don't want to forget information you have in short-term memory, you need to rehearse it. There are two kinds of rehearsal you might do depending on what your goal is. Maintenance rehearsal means to repeat back the information to yourself. For example, you can remember a phone number by saying the digits back to yourself one at a time. If you don't, you will lose it and have to look it up again. You can also elaborate on the information. Elaborative rehearsal is about looking for patterns and meaning in the information. You can try to organize the information. A simple example of this is called chunking. Take the phone number 555-9218. You can think about the last part of it as 9218, or you can organize it differently and think of it as 9218. That is chunking. By thinking of the numbers this way, you save room in short-term memory. Chunking like this is an easy way to improve your memory for phone numbers. Also, if you know the first 3 digits for your area, then you might just remember it as a local number. And keeping local in mind will help you to remember to use those first 3 digits. Another way to do elaborative rehearsal is to try to relate pieces of information to each other and to what you already know. For example, maybe you realize that the numbers in a new phone number match your favorite football players, Peyton Manning and Reggie White. Noticing a relationship like that could help you remember the number forever. It has now made its way into long-term memory. If your goal is to just keep something in mind for a minute or so, then maintenance rehearsal is probably all you need. If you want to store the information into long-term memory, then elaborative rehearsal is your best bet. When you elaborate on new information, you use knowledge that you have tucked away in long-term memory to make sense of it. Relating new things to what you know is a great way to store information in long-term memory. Remember when we compared information processing to food processing?
So here's a quick check. What does comparing information processing to food processing do for you? Well, talking about food processing makes you hungry, so you eat more food and it nourishes your brain. It helps you relate new information to something you already know about. It doesn't do anything. It helps with maintenance. Here's a study skills practical exercise. What have you recently learned about your topic, one you mentioned in another video? Find a fact about your topic that's new to you. The fact could be a concept, definition, or theory that you recently found out about. You can pick this fresh out of a book or your class notes. If you choose to learn something on your own topic, you can pick out a new fact from a blog post, YouTube video, or other source. Once you have it, write your new fact below. So if you were learning about goats, you need to come up with a new fact about goats. If you are learning about baking cookies or baking, a new fact. Playing the guitar, give me a new fact here. What is something new that you can learn? What does this new fact make you think of? Relax for a moment. Mull over this new fact. What other thoughts come to mind when you consider it? What does it remind you of? Jot down the ideas that the fact triggers in your mind. How does the fact relate to what you already know? Describe how the fact connects to the new ideas that it triggered. How do they relate? Great work! Whatever you're trying to learn, you can get it by consciously connecting new ideas. This badge rewards the completion of this module on short-term working memory. If you are working on this program online, save your work now and submit it. If you're doing this on an Edpuzzle, click Submit.